Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm excited that you clicked on and joined us today. Today we're going to be looking at some clips from my Returning to the Wind video that I did not too long ago. I'm going to look at it from the perspective as if I was rated higher than what I am now. What I would have done differently in certain situations, or what I would have maybe have done to make a better decision, or what it might be. So stay tuned. You're going to get voiceover editor Cooper here in a second. So thank you for joining us. Stay along. Stay whatever. I don't know what I was going to say. My brain gone. But yeah, here we go. Well, welcome back in to voiceovers. So this is hole 1 of my round here. And I left this in because if you take a look, I'm trying to start this disc on hyzer because of the wind. And I end up not throwing it on hyzer. I end up throwing it into the ground. And this is just a rough way to start your round. Now, this is hole number 4. So up to this point, I have been shredding. I was 2 under through 3. I get up to hole 4 and very confident on the tee. Same buzz in my hand that I've thrown a lot. And I put a decent move. It turns a little bit more than I expect. Not expect, that's the wrong words, but a little bit more than I would have liked. Now, here's where things get interesting. If I was smart, I would have made a decision and gone with it. If I had played to the rating I'm going for, the reality of it is there wouldn't have been any second guessing my initial decision. But you'll see here, I throw a forehand and bounce it off a tree, and you see the mental disgust with myself. Now, here is where I just jump putt it up, take my bogey. This was a wise decision, not to run this putt and end up taking a bigger number than just a bogey. Hole 7 here, I again have this buzz in my hand. I think this was not reading the wind super well off the tee. I probably should have gone more stable, and I threw this straight into this tree. Again, see, it's not really hyzering out, and now I have an upshot, and I go P3X about 800 feet long. This was a horrible, horrible shot. A wise shot because I'm taking at least a bogey, if not a double. Is accepting that reality. I should have jump putted up or gone with like a standstill something, but like I intended for that disc to hyzer out and it never did. And so here I am looking at this for bogey, and I'm trying to get my footing and all that figured out, which honestly, once I got down there and got it figured out, it wasn't too terrible. And I end up just putting up. I bounce off that tree you see there just behind the basket, and I'm left with, an 8-footer, 10-footer, whatever it was, and end up knocking it down for a double. Now, that's tough. The mental side of this gets real bad after this because I knew better. I knew I should have gone with either a more stable disc off the tee, or I should have honestly, I should have just thrown a better upshot. But a more stable disc off the tee, so that way I didn't contend with the out of bounds. It's probably better to finish a little bit more left on that hole, and I know that, but I went with something that has worked previously instead of playing to the conditions that are at the time. And you can tell I almost missed that putt because I'm just over it. I'm over this hole at this point, and I just swung off of it, which moves us into hole 8 here. And hole 8 is horrible. You see I have 2 discs in my hand. I have 2 different onyxes. I have a flippier onyx and a slightly more stable onyx. And I go with the flippier one because the wind plays to that favor a little bit here. And I threw the line I want. it was just a little low, and so I clipped the branches, which probably lost me a good bit of distance. But it was a throw I liked, and I get up to my shot, and I go origin on Anheuser, which makes 0 sense to why I would make that shot or throw that disc. It was horrible. And then I go buzz on Anheuser like I should have from the beginning and throw a decent shot there because I just abandoned my lie. Instead of going to the drop zone, which maybe I should have gone to the drop zone because I missed the Mando. But either way, I was taking the same number to start with. I think this is where the decision making would have been better to go to the drop zone because now I'm in this really tight spot trying to figure out how to get a shot even to the basket. I'm sitting at this point, I think I'm sitting 4. 1 off the tee, 2, drop 3, 4. Yeah, I'm sitting 4, so I'm already sitting at par with this shot, and I had to go patent pending because I can't get a shot out. I don't trust my forehand after the shot on hole 3, or hole 4, sorry. And so I'm going patent pending with an understable putter, just trying to work it from left to right down to the basket, trying to minimize the damage at this point. And I do a decent job, but I'll tell you, I think if I would have gone to the drop zone, I might have been able to work something, from left to right or right to left, depending on what angle I felt like throwing on from the drop zone to the basket, which would have solved all of these problems. I would have been sitting the same number from there, but instead of having this for my 5th, after sitting 4, I would have been throwing my 4th from the drop zone, which would have just opened up some angles, and you can tell the putt was just get it up there, tap it in, call it good. The body language here is where things start to get interesting because I have an opportunity to do something and bounce back from it, but I allow myself to just feel defeated, which we all get at some point on the course. It's how you bounce back. And I did end up birding in the next hole, parring the following hole. It really turned out better overall, but here we are. This is hole number 12, right? No, 13. This is hole 13, and this is my upshot on hole 13, and I felt like I threw this one well, but I get up here and, I'm circle's edge, 35 feet, 40 feet, whatever, 35 probably, and the wind really starts to pick up. I'm going through my routine, I get up to the putt, and you'll see I back away from the putt. When I backed away from the putt, I didn't reset my routine, and I should have. My routine's not super long, and you can see me waiting for the wind to die off a little bit, because on this elevated basket, I was questioning myself. I kind of didn't really reset myself, and then I was questioning whether I should putt this or not, and in that questioning, I should have just laid up, because that would have been the smarter of the two decisions. That was for par, I would have taken a single bogey instead of this double bogey, which, again, this is mental side of trying to become higher rated than what I currently am sitting. And you could tell at this point I'm mathematically out of it, but I'm going to finish this up, and I'm going to get aggressive off of this tee because I feel like I need to. I feel like I should try to birdie this shot, and I feel like I really need to just pump one out there. And so I'm going with my straighter Thrasher here. This is an old TI Thrasher, and this disc is great. It's point shoot, has a little flip to it, but pretty much just goes straight. And I put a great move on this disc, and it goes a little bit further right. There's a slight headwind or crosswind there. You can kind of see it in my shirt where the wind is blowing pretty well, and I end up in a horrendous spot right here. And what you didn't see is I threw a forehand roller from there, and it was just bad. Shouldn't have gone from there. But here's another upshot that I throw, and this is not reading the wind well and not trusting your forehand still. And so I go and I throw it, and it's just not as great as it should have been. I'm left with this putt for par, and I knocked this putt down. And so I'm not mad at this putt, and I'm not really mad about the upshot. It's just understanding the situation slightly better, so that way, as I'm improving, it gets better. Here we are on the tee pad of 18. At this point, I am out of it score-wise, and so mentally I kind of throw in the towel a little bit too. But I'm going with one of my more stable Onyxes here, and I didn't either read the wind well, threw the disc bad, or something, and you could tell I knew right away it was out of bounds. So I get up to my disc, and I'm going to go with a zone. I'm going to go with a stable run of Crystal Flex zone from an old Ledgestone run, and you're going to see that I end up 35 feet long, 40 feet long. I end up making the putt for bogey, which is great, but it shouldn't have been that stressful. You can see that I get this deep of the basket, and you don't see this in this clip, but I later go back and I grab my rangefinder and I look at the distance, and I'm like, I wouldn't have thrown a zone here, or at least not thrown a zone full power, so that way I could have ended up a little bit closer for a stress-free bogey, but I end up just going for it, and at least I made the putt. But all that to be said, thank you for listening to VoiceOver. So thanks for tuning in. I just finished my voiceover for this video, and just some closing thoughts. Like, looking at this again for the first time in a while, you could tell that the decision making isn't where it is at in order to be higher rated, which again, I think that comes with time, that comes with patience, practice, all the things. So it was something that if I could go back, I would have made different decisions. And like, looking at it, like I talked about it in the video, there's times where I changed my mind or did something that was the initial thought, but then should have gone away from it, and I never did. And so it's just, again, practice. We're just trying to get a little bit better out here. Now, we'll see how it goes. We'll see what improvements I can make throughout the season, and hopefully reach that rating goal that I had put out for myself, so that way we can maybe see something crazy happen. But until next time, thank you for clicking on, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and as always, do not forget to walk those fairways with purpose.